Um, Hello everyone. I have a signal that we can begin um, our hour of dashboarding. Just give me a second. I will set on my chat in the YouTube. So sometimes I will look down and if you have any kind of comments, I'll read it while speaking this topic. So once again, nice to see everyone with us today. And we received a lot of registrations on this webinar, but there are only like few people already are on this webinar. So I hope you're having a great summer time and this is not so warm that in your countries right now, because in some countries it is a disaster. So if you're okay and if you're ready to listen something about dashboards, I can start. Yeah, my name is just a short intro about Allworks, my company, and about me. My name is Ilya. So today we're talking about about the dashboards, and to be honest, I'm a kind of less visual person. I'm about more numbers and tables, but that doesn't matter what you are talking about, the meaningfulness and about the design and the process of making the decisions. In our team in Allworks, we believe that every decision maker has to deal with the data freely, and we are not trying to promote ourselves right now and talk about our company more. So if you need any kind of details, you can go through this link and there could be an answers. Today, we are gonna talk about dashboarding. And on the way, we're Allworks, we're a product team, product-led company. And on the way to this, we've created hundreds of marketing dashboards with our professional services and with our products. So we can kind of understand the process of implementing data-informed decisions into the business processes. And that's why we're here today. That's what we're going to talk. My speech, my presentation will be divided into three parts. On the first, we'll try to understand why sometimes marketing dashboards are failing. And I'm not speaking about the exact person who are building this dashboard, but the process. Then next block, I will describe what is the game changer, what could be the solution for that. And at the end, we will get back to the cases, which I will mention on the first part. So let's start. By the way, once again, I'm using some pictures from the Big Bang Theory. That's because of this. This is one of my favorite TV series. And this is a favorite just because I didn't watch any others. So sorry for that. There are some still great jokes, so sometimes you will see it here. Some facts about the visualization, what it is about. So first, when we're talking about visualization, we need to understand that it is a huge, great market. So the size of this market is projected to reach 19 billions of dollars by 2027, and now it's about 8. So it's kind of huge investments for all the teams that are making it in this process, that investing in this process. However, in any investment, there need to be some outcomes of this investment, and to make this story, we looked through some numbers and some researches which showed us this kind of picture. There are some of them. I'll describe. First, like the 80s, according to Forbes Insights, 87% of executives are struggling to analyze marketing performance data. And that means not only, that is not because only about the visualization, but they want to do the analysis of performance data, and it's difficult to them. And visualization part is somewhere between these two facts. And another one, it's about, this is the link for the marketing charts, but it's actually a fortunate site. It tells that the 65% of CMO doesn't refer to data when making the decisions. So actually, they prefer to do it intuitively. And this is the biggest companies in the world. So maybe it's not that bad, but still, we're thinking about to compare the investments and this like kind of numbers. So we can think that not all the investments are going to the right place at the right time. And one more research that we've made overall from the markets we are working on is that 50% of dashboards, which are tracked, of course, by the person who created it, have been used only once, have been opened only once by business users, or haven't been opened like in previous 6 months. And that's kind of a interesting story we're making right now. We're having the huge investments. We're having the researchers that's telling that all the process, somebody in this process are not satisfied with the results. So why are that happening? And to answer that, we also made a discovery and research and tried to take some cases which can give us a context why it's happening. I'll go through some of these cases. There will be 3 of them. So, and I'll try to explain what was expecting from one side and what we get at another side. So the first case is about controlling the KPIs of the ad performance. And for example, there's a marketing department who has their task, and they're frustrated to switching between several tools and wait for weekly updates to compare and control campaign KPIs, campaign return on ad spend. So they are like doing a huge work themselves, and they have a request to analytics department. So like, can you please help me to simplify this process from getting the data from the sources to the dashboard, so I can control and be sure that I'm controlling the right numbers in my dashboards and making right decisions. And analytics department that have a great specialist in there, have data engineers, have data analysts, and the person who is responsible says that, okay, great, we will take all the data from these data sources, collect into our data warehouse by custom scripts. We never did it before, but it's not that a problem. We have a data engineer here. Then it's just a query, and here we go. There is a visualization in Data Studio or whatever you prefer. Okay, so and we have a backlog, kind of a heavy backlog, and like it will take like 2 or 3 weeks us to handle this task. Marketing is like can give a feedback. So okay, that seems to be a simple task, but okay, I trust you, I believe you that it can take just more weeks, but we just need a trends, and we are okay. We're taking the KPIs from GA4 conversions. We don't need any CRM data. Maybe like there is some kind of a simplified process there, and there is no need to do it in some in that kind of a heavy way. And maybe in a month, marketing gets back with an issue that LinkedIn ads data was not on the dashboard. Just they figure it out themselves. And analyst says that, okay, great, there is a problem with the API. They've changed it, so we need another 2 weeks. Please give us a request. We will do it and put it in our backlog. So to sum up this case, I hope you don't face this case, but still, if you does, don't worry. What is this case about? So marketing wants to control their KPIs, just to control without any kind of additional actions, which could be very heavy to them. And analysts just taking maybe not the optimal path to get them to receive them to give them the solution. The second case, just give me a second, please. There is something with our, yeah. Just give me a second, please. Yes, I just have to move something from my screen. Yes, the second case is about expanding the marketing upper funnel. And this is well known. Sometimes you're seeing it about the attribution case. I'll describe it. For example, some heads of marketing and head of analytics, they had some discussion where head of marketing said, asked to create an alternative attribution, and analytics department have in their KPIs. So when they received this task to create this alternative attribution to understand the impact of upper funnel channels and better than less click. You may heard this task a lot. And analyst says that, okay, I've learned, or I have an experience in machine learning, and here we go, you have a model, you have a report, which is comparing both last click and alternative attribution by channels, by campaigns, like you see on the screen. Okay, marketing say, great, but just wait a bit. How can I interpret these results? What are my actions? I just see the numbers, I see the results, I just don't really get what I should do next. And sometimes you can receive from analysts this kind of answer. So, well, it doesn't propose the actions, but you have to define themselves. But the machine learning model works great and shows the great results. Please, it's just on your side. You know the context, and I'm creating the model. And marketing says, okay, I'll try to do myself. And it leads us to that. Okay, we didn't have time, too many launches of our campaigns. So to sum up, what do we have with that case? Somebody wants to, the team, the marketing wants to have new insights to fit their ambitious plan, return on ad spend plan. And they're asking for help. And this help doesn't give it just gives the real noise, but not the help that they're expecting to have. And just one more case. It could be kind of simple one, just to give a whole picture, a whole idea I'm trying to give you. It's the case when somebody wants to, in one reality, to compare online and offline impact. And for example, the business who are working with this types of marketing data, online marketing budget and online marketing data, an offline marketing budget, they wanted to prove that the impact from online ads is there is a huge impact to offline sales, and that will help them to reallocate budget from the marketing offline to online segment. And they have that kind of idea. They ask analyst. Analyst says that, okay, great. I know some techniques how to build this research online, purchase offline metric. I will need about 1 week, and I'll bring you some kind of this type of report. And business likes it. Marketing, by the way, says that, okay, I'll try to figure out how can I manage this kind of data. I don't know really. Okay, we have an idea, but what's about that idea for me? So 2 months later, analyst returns with a feedback that there is no entrances on this dashboard, which could be easily tracked, and there is no dashboard. There is no entrances by the last 2 months, and he asked if it's useless or not. And marketing actually says that, okay, the business leader who asked that, he is not interested in this anymore. He used to make some kind of a presentation in PowerPoint for the entire company. And now, I'm not I'm not working with that because I actually doesn't have any kind of KPIs on growing these types of revenue. I'm focusing on online and no offline there. And for me, it's of course useless. What that case leads us to, of course, analysts will be not satisfied with that result of his work, and sometimes you may see that some of the analysts are struggling and frustrating about like if their work are really meaningful or not. So I really hope that in your teams you don't have this kind of question, this kind of cases. If you're familiar with that, I'll try to give the explanation why it's happening. But the first, let us describe and sum up what like marketing expects. They expect to control their KPIs without too many actions, get insights to perform better, and to find some growth points to get a good bonus, for example, for their team. And sometimes, in some cases, not in all cases, of course, but some cases, they are leading to untimely reaction because the reports were prepared not in the right time, in the right place. Inexplicable metrics that they cannot work with, they're making the noise, and it's hard to trust and act on. And sometimes it's about that they don't have real power or interest to the work that's been done by analytics. And that leads us to, in any kind of these situations, dashboards will not be used, even if they were made in a great way with a great templates, like all the data were correct in this dashboard. And this is the blockers. So we have here, like, please remember the cases. At first, please remember those cases. We will get back them at the third part of our presentation, especially the first and the second. So I'll give you an explanation of how work with that problems. And what's the unique to all these cases? Actually, there is no one reason why this failure happening. You cannot say that always there is an analyst who is to be blamed. Or the marketer doesn't give a great request. It's about some kind of a problem. It's about some kind of a process. But still, we have to define, because we're making a great investments there, we have to define how this investment are being paid back. And what are the game changers here? First of all, if you're thinking of a process of creating a dashboard, and for example, you're not really familiar with this as an analyst, maybe you're on a marketing side, you can see it on just kind of similar picture. There is some kind of a request, and there is an outputs like KPI control, insights, growth points, everything that we've discussed before. And something between those things, it's analyst responsibility that should like produce this dashboards. All the data quality is on them, and I just need to get the control, the insights, and everything else. But the reality, and looking on this kind of flow, it reminds like just a task in the backlog of analysts. Marketers does the request, and analyst does this blue block as a task. But in a reality, the dashboarding is a two-way road. So believe me, no, I've never seen an analyst who wants to be that man on this picture. Somebody they does. When we're talking about dashboarding, we have to think differently about that. First, we don't have to think about that dashboard is a task in a backlog. For analysts, it is mostly a product, their own product, which should be fit to the business processes, which are already been implemented in the company, or it could be changed. For his teammates, for example, for the marketers, for business leaders, it's about the business process of getting to the insights, to return on ad spend, KPIs, challenge, by suitable product. So the good way is to think about its product and the process for the both teams. There is some clues, and I'll show you just another picture, another flow. And this is flow for a standalone dashboard. So this is not for a reporting system. If you are building such system, it is for a standalone. So by standalone, I mean that there is one or two, maybe three dashboards, because, like, for example, your team is not so big and you don't have a lot of resources to work with the context of this with the dashboards, and you just need the main dashboard, like performance dashboard, like media dashboard, and so on. And you don't have a lot of resources there, so all the standalone process of creating the dashboard is fine. It's fine to you. And you can see here some blocks which appeared in comparing to the first dashboard flow I've shown you before. I'll name them. It is syncing the expectations, designing the process of usage, reproducing use cases, and the quality assurance. And now we're dive into all these blocks, and I'll show you the meaning. First is to sync in the objectives and expectations. And you may say that usually you're doing this work. So you're making some communications. If you're a marketer and you are working with analytics department, you are making some communications before starting working on this dashboard. And it's completely true. But the difference is, and we discovered that in the most cases, there is just the work that is being done while you are syncing on this process which is shown on the left side of this canvas. By the way, it is the simple canvas which we designed. If you are familiar with a lean canvas, then you will understand why the numbers are not in directly from the left to right, but there are two sides of this canvas. And the first canvas, for example, there is some kind of a request from marketing. We've seen that kind of a dashboard about paid channels, and we want to reproduce it in our own with our own data. Please do that. And of course, analysts know what is the dashboard users. Of course, sometimes you can not sometimes, usually you discuss the metrics in this dashboards and dimensions, because if not, then it won't be that easy to do that. And analysts, of course, knows better what are the sources and the blending keys. And they can work with the charts and dashboard that is here. But this part, the left part, can be changed when you're working with the right part, and there are some additional answers on how the process of dashboard should work. I'll name them. So first, the second block is the business decisions, and we discovered that sometimes there are no good explanation about what business decisions should be made on the work, on the product that we're discussing. The use cases and the context. So actually, how will you work with this dashboard? At what context? What are your contexts when you would like to look to this dashboard? And there are some other questions which can help you to build a good definition of how to work with the product you are discussing. And also there are two other blocks: data quality criteria, which also should be discussed. It is not only analytics support, it should be discussed, but because marketing can have their own what to say to that criteria, what to add to that criteria. And the seventh block, which you can see here by number 7, is the delivery of data or narrative. I'll get back to this later and show you the examples. So what is the main idea here? The right block, the right side, which is usually not done really in deep, which is not with which analysts and marketing does not working together, affects what should be said in the left part, and of course affects the result. And that's the first part. We can take something from this canvas and add it to the design process of usage, because when we're defining everything that should be done with this canvas, then it should be designed on the next steps. And the designing is about, in overall, it's about the user experience working with this product, which we call a dashboard. So again, this is not only a view, it is a product. And when we're thinking about dashboard as a product, we can see here some clues and some points which can help us to communicate better between those teams, like the data quality criteria. As shown on the screen on the left side of this slide, there could be some providing some explanation on how the data could be trusted or not. Sometimes it should be provided on the beginning, but in most cases, it should be provided whenever the business user looks on the dashboard. So, like when the business user sees this kind of data, which is on the left side, he always thinks that, okay, if I'm not okay with the data, this is a problem with the data or the problem with how I perform. And the dashboard should explain what is the quality. Does the data meets the quality criteria which were mentioned before starting working with this dashboard. For example, on this screen, this is some kind of a matching criteria and like paid the criteria that meets the amount of and the share of paid traffic sources. Because, like, as you know, with the cookieless processes and the cookieless restrictions, some of the paid traffics are lost to direct traffic. So the second part is the metrics naming, and that ignored a lot in a lot of cases. Sometimes when you're talking and when you want to design, when you want somebody to work with your product, you have to think about how you name the metrics and dimensions, and it should be done in a common business terms. The similar one, it's not about the naming, it's about the meaning of this metrics. For example, if you provide the attribution model metrics, you shouldn't be sure that marketers will work with that, will understand what metric says to you. And in this kind of situation, you have to do some additional exercises, for example, to describe what this metric, what this model represents. I'll show you on the next slide. And one more, the narrative delivery. Let's stop here on the word delivery. Sometimes we are thinking about the dashboard and about thinking about the metrics, like, okay, I put it on my dashboard and I'll send it to you. And whenever like marketer need this dashboard, he can open it himself. But you should think about the right time and the right persons where this data should be sent, because there could be some common cases, like there is a CMO who expects to see some numbers and the results of the previous week on Mondays before 10 a.m. before the meeting on the entire head of this company, and he expected to see how we're dealing with the plan fact data, plan fact metrics. And for example, we are just showing the dashboard, and like telling the CMO that you can always open this dashboard, and there is no answers if the data was updated or it is something is missing. So whenever this CMO looks on this dashboard, he as well as in the previous case, he might not believe what he see and might not work with that. And about the narrative, the same case, we're talking about the CMO, and this is an example what's we've been created. So it's not only about like what you deliver to what person at what time. It is also about how you deliver the narrative. For example, narrative for attribution sometimes is really needed because it's not a common metric. For research online purchase offline metric, it's also needed some kind of a narrative from analysts to describe what was calculated here, to describe the use cases. And it could be done in a simple way. For example, this is email which was sent to before 10 a.m. with some kind of a narrative about the plan fact metrics and showing the prediction if the plan will the company will meet the marketing plan or not. And it contains this kind of a narrative that answers you that the plan is not, we're not working good and we're not meeting the plan. So that is about designing. So you need to understand who will use and when he will use this kind of data. The third block I've shown you, it's about the reproducing the cases. So I've seen a lot of cases when in different companies when the work of analysts stops on when the dashboard are ready. But the truth is that when the dashboard is ready, somebody needs to work with the use cases you've been discussed before. And if analyst does not test his own product with the context that have been discussed before, then there will be a problem when you there could be a problem when comparing the metrics and with the trust. Sometimes the awful cases where analyst doesn't even compare the totals from, for example, CRM data and the data from this CRM, so from this data source, which appeared on this dashboard. So also check data adequacy. For example, if you trying to reproduce your use cases, if you write down this kind of use cases and you had a great sync with the marketing, what they should expect, what they should deliver, what you should deliver, and what decision they should make, then you have to reproduce these cases and understand if the data is adequate there. And that's the first part. So it is like an obligatory part. And the second one is optional, and it's optional more for the metrics that were not used before. For example, like an attribution, for example, like a return on ad spend, or research online purchase offline metric. For example, like some metrics that you've been invented and nobody like understand right now how to work and how to make insights with this metric. And the good point, if the person who already knows the context, for example, the analyst, who can reproduce the use cases, can give this kind of a data explanation and narrative about how we can interpret this like 136% comparing the transactions to orders by new attribution model we've invented. And what does this attribution model really tells us? What does it describes? Maybe it describes that like we are talking about this channel, and this channel helps us to drive all the users from the top of the funnel to the conversion. Or maybe this attribution describes that this channel performs better on the top, on the upper funnel, and helps to get the target audience to the next step. or it is a predictive model. So it can be described in different types of, in different cases, depending on how it's being created and what is the meaning of this model. And of course, the important part, you can never think that all the cases, all the use cases can be solved here. Some of them can be moved forward to the next iterations. Some of them cannot be solved. For example, if there is no data source for that specific case. But still, you should think about that, and you should make some kind of assumptions and give a feedback to marketing team. What should they expect and what should they not expect? Especially, we see a lot of this in attribution cases when when the marketing thinks that if they have the alternative attribution, they can like optimize everything. But attribution is for specific use cases. The fourth block is about the feedback and exchanging this feedback. If you have a big team who are using your dashboard, like for example, 10 or more business users, then you can create the NPS questionnaire and send it like once a quarter to understand how they're working with your reporting system. If you're working like with one business user, then it could be just one-on-one meetings, and you can just receive all the information and all the feedback from them on these meetings. But you should really exchange this feedback because it's important to focus on what's important to marketing. It sometimes when you're working for 2, 3, 4 years on the same position for the same project, there were a lot of dashboards appear. Somebody are actual, somebody are were already forgotten and does not maintain. So you have to realize what you should really maintain, what you should really support. And the second exercise here is to track the usage. It could be done by Data Studio. There is some kind of functionality there to add Google Analytics property and to track the usage of the dashboard. So it could be easily done without coding, but if you have a big team, also you can make your own system and track what is with your dashboard, what the dashboards are popular, what not, what are using, where is the problems, and so on. So again, think about this dashboarding as a process for business and a product for analytics. Once again, this is the standalone dashboard flow, which I've shown you before. No new information on this slide. And I've just wanted to compare to the flow when you are creating the reporting system, because when you need like one data source for all business users, and there are a lot of teams which are using this kind of data, they have their own dashboard, they have their own views, then it's quite kind of different process. And still the work of analysts is to think about it as a product and to simplify the process of receiving these dashboards and receiving the insights. Still, it is a teamwork overall. Just wanted for you to see how it compares to when you're starting building not a standalone dashboard, but the whole reporting system, for example, using your data warehouse or some tools. And back to our cases. First, we would like to understand what went wrong on our first case. If you remember that this case is about the marketing team who wanted to control their KPI and their campaign results, and they received untimely reaction from their dashboards. This is the flow where I've colored the blocks which went wrong and which affected this KPI control. And to discuss that, I've added some information on the dashboard canvas, and I've added the things that already we received, and we can work with that, and they're okay. First of all, as the dashboard user are still the same. The business decisions we discussed, and they're also doesn't change. As the use cases, they're expecting to control their KPIs and campaigns. What is different to of how this task has been, how the dashboard has been created to how it might have been created? The first is the data sources. Because the marketing trusts Google Analytics for data, it is could be easy, and the blending keys is only UTM parameters. It could be all easily blended in Data Studio without streaming all the data and exporting to the data warehouse. And that's the first thing that analysts didn't mention. And the second thing is about the criteria and the delivery. The first one is that criteria, GA4 conversions are fully trustable. They are using for the KPIs, and the data completeness is needed over 95%. So there is missing two things. First, the easy to use solution, and the second, the data monitoring and the notifications if the data is not complete. So we're discussing the right the right side and the left side. So we see here that it might affect the charts and the dashboard data scheme because we've changed the data source. As a result, so what should be a game changer here? First, in this case, easy to get and time to value is more important than the data accuracy. So we need to use a simplified solution, and the data planning in Data Studio is enough. Also, there are data completeness monitoring is requested because marketing are struggling with the problems when the data is not being collected to for the exact date, or is it's missing for some data sources. And of course, analytics can focus. There are a lot of tools which can help with that. We also can help with that, and help with the monitoring and getting the easy to use dashboards. And at the same time, analysts can focus on their backlog because this is just a template, and it still can help you working with this data. The second case, it is more complicated, and it is about getting insights and what went wrong here. Also, I've colored here some blocks which went wrong, and try to look on our canvas. Here we have the dashboard users. They're okay, they are still the same. The business decisions, we had a great sync here, so we need to expand the upper funnel to challenge the ambitious revenue plan. But the use cases was just only about the relocate budgets, and they didn't went through them. They didn't went well to give to receive some use cases and give the examples back. Also, there is some problem with the delivery part because the attribution, the explanation and the narrative of the attribution is some part of the delivery. So it wasn't done. So it affects the left block of our canvas, and it could affect at first the metrics and the data scheme as well. So what should be a game changer here? The metrics explainability is more important than easy to get solution, and analysts should focus more not on the model but what it describes to get more context and use cases to define if your model and metrics are solving those cases, and bring the narrative with new metrics. And the takeaways. So I've discussed the process of working with the dashboard and with the dashboarding, and why it does differ from what we are thinking of it. So the task to analytics department and nothing else here. The dashboarding is not only the analytics responsibility, is a teamwork. And the dashboard is not a task for the backlog, is analytics product with its MVPs. For example, as the first case is just the MVP of some kind of maybe a greater solution, with its business decisions and deliveries. And also the meaningfulness and insights come when the whole process were well designed. At the end, I will look through your questions, but I'll have it here if you didn't write them to our chat in YouTube. We can share with you our dashboard galleries to find some ideas for your marketing dashboards, some examples that I've explained on this webinar. And we also can have this kind of a proposal to 1 hour free marketing analytics consultancy for the dashboarding, for GA4 migration, or other marketing or digital analytics tasks. And also you can follow us on LinkedIn, via YouTube channel, or write me directly to my mail. So there are some few questions, I'll answer them. So how to understand that I can rely on the dashboard's data? That's a good question. So usually this is it's a process. First of all, you have to describe what is the data quality criteria for you, for example, for analytics team and for the marketing teams. It's not only about like the analytics team to define the criteria of data quality. For example, like marketing usually can say that, okay, I need the trends. Day by day, I use J4 data, and I understand that there are missing about 10 or 15% of conversions, but I'm quite okay with that because I'm looking on the trends, and the trends is the main focus for me here. So the marketing can give this feedback, and it could be, as the first case, it could be an MVP for the product. But usually on the second part, so when you're meeting this kind of criteria, sometimes you have to define the criteria which are always on your dashboard when you're looking on that. Because when you're thinking about the data, when you're looking about the data, and you're not okay with that as a marketer, the first thing that you will think, the first thought you will have is that some problems with the data, not how I perform, but with the data. And believe me, that's an obvious thing. And like not to lose some time there, because if that happens, marketing is going to analytics department. They do some work to define if the data is correct or not, if it's complete or not. To avoid that, you should think about the criteria like shown on the board, shown on the screen, and to define like which criteria should be shown on the dashboard whenever the marketers are looking on that. Hope I answered. So yeah, there are some other comments. The title of webinar is misleading. Maybe it's true, but we were trying to, we have a lot of content here. And of course, it could be all like translated in one presentation, but we've tried to focus on the process right now. And if we didn't meet your expectations, sorry for that. Anyway, we still have a lot of content like the dashboard gallery and some of our articles that will help, and we can share them after our webinar. So if you have any other questions here, then please share with us. If not, you have all our contacts, and I'll be happy to help it after our webinar will finish. So hope that everyone liked it. If any questions, please contact us, and have a great day. Thank you.